Hello, ladies. How are you? Judy Weber here, one of the founders of this wonderful group called Girls Guide to Outrageous Real Estate Success. And I'm super excited because I'm sitting here with my good friend, Julia Andrews. And hey, Julia.
Hi.
And ladies, we are addressing a topic that I know many of you struggle with. And that's why I asked Julia here. And she was kind enough to say, yes, I want to help your ladies. And today we're going to tackle the inner game of sales. Julia's going to teach you how to shift your beliefs in order to win more sales, get more confident, and you're just going to love Julia's style. So before we jump in, I'm going to read a short bio about Julia because she approaches sales like a girl. We say that with pride, right? We do it different. So let me tell you about Julia. She represents the National Association of Women Sales Professionals as the chapter president for Portland, Oregon. She's the founder and creator of the Art of Feminine Selling, which just blows me away, right? Because if you're like me, early on, decades ago, feminine selling, that's an oxymoron. Oh, no, it's not. All right. Because her sales methodology highlights empathy and vulnerability as a strength. It is our strength. And with an emphasis on mindset and authenticity. That is just beautiful. And so you're going to love this. Now, Julia is a sales coach and a sales team strategist who herself has sold over $215 million. Okay. She brings a wealth of experience and expertise working over 2 decades as a top tier performer in corporate financial services, which is so competitive. So let's say a warm welcome to Julia.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I'm so excited for having me.
So excited to have you here, Julia. I love that. The Art of Feminine Selling. Well, I love your story of how you came to sales. Can you tell us that? Because it is very wild and amazing story.
Yeah, it's wild indeed. I think that the way that it came about, it really wasn't like I fell into it. Can you hear me okay? I think there's Okay, perfect. I actually started selling really out of desperation, out of necessity, out of the sheer desire to help my family. Back in 1996, which is like a long time ago, my family moved from Mexico to San Diego, and my parents divorced, and my dad completely disappeared, leaving my mom with 5 children. My mom had been a stay-at-home mom for over 2 decades, and all of a sudden, not speaking the language, getting 2 full-time jobs, and then having us, my oldest sister and I, really with the responsibility of buying food. So it really came to looking at the classifieds, right? I'm dating myself here, and looking at what would make me the most money the fastest. And sales, those ads, my God, they did wonders because they were like, control your own income and make as much as you want and all this other stuff. And it was just, a couple of days later, I was, knocking on doors, residential areas and selling cutlery.
So it's selling cutlery?
Yes, selling knives. Which, if you can picture a 17-year-old with a script in hand, because I didn't speak English that well, so I didn't know what I was saying half the time. I was really relying on this script. And I remember, 6 weeks into this job, my oldest sister, who was just a year and a half older than me, you would think she was like 20 years older than me. She's such responsibility, right? Because we were with my younger siblings, said to me, Julia, I think it's about time that you get a real job. You haven't sold a thing, and I cannot be the one, buying all the groceries for all 6 of us. And in that moment, I remember just feeling like such a failure. And I don't know if, any of the ladies here listening sometimes feel like, oh my God, I'm spinning my wheels. I'm going out. I'm showing houses. I'm doing open houses. I'm meeting people. I'm networking, and nothing is converting. And I truly felt like, I didn't know how to sell. I was a failure. But the one thing that has stuck with me, several lessons that I learned, was the very first thing that I did is I went to the kids They were completely just dominating in their sales. These kids were making between $3,000 and $5,000 a week selling knives.
Wow. Who would have thunk it?
And I remember like, well, you know, thank goodness I didn't have that block that, oh my God, I don't speak English, all this other stuff. I didn't care. Like, I needed to buy food. So these kids really showed me, you know, where are you going to show these knives? Obviously, they didn't care about my presentations. They knew my English was very broken. But the first lesson was get a mentor. The second lesson was qualify your clients. They changed geographically where I should be sent, you know, going and selling these knives, because I thought I was, you know, being smart by walking around my neighborhood, and we lived in a pretty poor neighborhood, and the sets were like about $2,500 to $2,800. They were more than the people's rents. I mean, there was just not a buyer match right there. So afterwards, you know, maybe, I don't know, a week in, after changing a couple different things and tweaking and going after it, I made my first sale. My sister could not believe it, but we were in disbelief. And in that moment, Judy, I was like, oh my God, like, this is insane. Like, I made in 1 hour what my mom makes working 2 full-time jobs in a month. So it just kind of shifted my way of seeing selling. You know, it was more about, wow, if I can provide something that's beneficial, that's useful, that's good for them, I can make a lot of money. And it helped my family. After a year of just honing my craft, I didn't need, you know, to walk in with a script anymore. And I remember walking into this beautiful home and talking to the husband, to the wife, and I sold the set. And while we were completing the purchase order, basically, we were making small talk, and the husband hands me over his business card. So one thing I didn't mention is that with the little money that I kept for myself, because I gave the majority of my money to my mom for groceries and stuff, I would buy 2 magazines, Money Magazine and Clippers magazines, because I was obsessed of how to make wealth, how to make money, right? And I remember the logo and that guy's card was all over these magazines. I was just like, what is this? And before I could even stop myself, Judy, I said, I've always wanted to work for Merrill Lynch. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get kicked out of the house. Like, I just felt like, what am I doing? And what he said to me was so, in that moment, I was like, oh my God, I died 1,000 deaths. He said, you know, I would never offer a job to a student going to a community college. And I was just like, oh my God, like, please just like kill me right now. Like, I couldn't take that pain, that humility. But then he said, but if they can sell like you, and if you're serious, that always gets me, because you have to ask for what you want. And sometimes we don't ask for what is in our hearts because we have fear that we're going to be rejected or ridiculed. But if you don't go with it, you risk losing opportunities that could change the direction of your life. So he said, come to me Monday morning. And I did. And that's how my career started at Merrill Lynch. And after that, you know, I moved up to different positions, and my income, you know, moved with it, moved up with it. And then the last corporate financial job that I had, you know, I seriously felt like I got a PhD in sales, because I was seriously thrown in, either sink or swim. You know, you figure it out. And I was dealing in the insurance market, but it was more of insurance with life insurance and annuities and indexed annuities. What? Like, all of this stuff is like very complicated to a degree, right? Where I'm selling to advisors, and they're my clients, and traveling all over. And I had to create a system, like a process, to be able to duplicate. I had between 20, my smallest goal was 20 million a year, and my highest goal was 40 million a year. And I had to have a consistent process where I could rinse and repeat every week, every quarter, so that I was not trying to dig myself out of a hole on the fourth quarter, right? Not being able to have Christmas, or, you know, whatever you celebrate, maybe the holidays, or all this kind of stuff. And I developed a system that allowed me to build and sell over $215 million in that time. So I had, had to hone my relationship skills, how to understand not objections, but concerns, how to be a master and an expert in my field, understanding who's my competition, what is the differentiator, because now I was talking to a very sophisticated client. That information is nothing. What is, information is it's out there, right? It's not, they're not looking for you for that. But how are you going to be an ally and a partner in what I want to accomplish? And a lot of what we're going to talk about here today is not necessarily the tactical and the strategy, but the things that take you out of the game. The mental blocks that we impose in ourselves are our limiting beliefs that really we don't even stand a chance, because we already declaring failure before, we even give ourselves the opportunity in a true fighting chance to win.
Gosh.
So
I just love your story. And frankly, I love that you got emotional, only because I'm an emotional, and we're ladies. And I think, I just said in your bio that, our femininity is our strength. Mm-hmm. Because sales is about connecting, as you've said, and as we're going to be talking about. So let's jump into this first topic, which is just so amazing. Top 3 limiting beliefs.
Okay. So through my 23 years experience in selling, and also selling and teaching women as well, out of all the mental blocks that you could potentially come up with, right? They fall into 3 categories, in my opinion. We're going to go into each one. What do they mean? What do they are? And how can you reframe them so that they're not constantly sabotaging your efforts? The first one, and it may seem obvious, but it's really asking for money. And asking for money, think about it in your situation, asking for the sale, the ability to receive. Are you in a mental space where you are in service to others, or you are looking to, how am I going to get ahead? And there's nothing negative around that. There's no pointing fingers around that. But it's really about, if you have a connection with money that is not positive, your relationship, that's going to directly affect your sales, because you unconsciously are going to move away from what feels uncomfortable. And if the client, it doesn't necessarily say like, okay, I love this. Let's, your presentation on this listing was amazing. I want to continue to move forward in the process. If they don't say that, or they don't vocalize that, you basically don't push them, or well, that's in your idea. I don't want to push them. But in reality, there's something happening there. There's something that is uncomfortable. And I would reframe it from understanding that this stuff, by the way, Judy, is so basic. It's not groundbreaking, but it's uncomfortable to do anytime you have to put the mental effort involving your heart and your mind, because it's uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. But we have to be very clear in a scenario, and feel free to kind of ask me questions to elaborate on things.
Yep.
When we don't have a good relationship with money, potentially we grew up and we are now kind of embodying the old programming, maybe from our parents, maybe from our childhood. Somehow we learned that, money doesn't grow on trees, or make sure that you don't, there's some situation with money that it's not, that doesn't feel, there's some friction. There's friction there. There's no peace. I have one client, I won't mention her name because I don't have permission to say this, but she is a high-powered New York producer. And when she started kind of going into her own, having her own business, she had been amongst a lot of high-profile people with money. And then when we started doing this kind of deep dive around, your inner mentality, inner game of sales, this conversation came up. She didn't like asking for money. And I said, out of all people, what's it to you? Like, what's the problem? She's like, it's just, I don't want to ask them. I said, but if you don't ask for the sale, you're not impacting the way that you can help them. And she's like, I just don't. What we discovered basically is the ability to receive. the ability to feel worthy of receiving.
Worthy. Now that's a big word. That's a big word. If I can interrupt, I have two things to say it because I'd love you to elaborate on this. First of all, do you agree with me that a lot of the ladies here, give me the script, give me the script. Mm-hmm. And I believe that it's not really about the words per se, but more your passionate delivery of what you're trying to get across. I mean, what do you think about scripts?
I think I love scripts. Scripts can make you feel, scripts can give you an Oscar nomination, or it can make you sound wooden, like very stiff, right? It all depends on the script, the words that you're saying, but how you embody them, how do you deliver them, how do you bring them to life? And I'm not opposed on scripting when they're done right, when they touch on, when they make it about the person. So if you're selling a home, obviously you want to do your due diligence around, who's your buyer? What are they looking for? What matters to them? How do you have a conversation that is directly impacting how they want to live life in this space versus you selling? So I think that it's very important that you showcase why you're doing what you're doing, telling a story. Why did you get into real estate? How did you fall in love with this profession? There's a lot of ways to engage your audience into why you. There's a dime a dozen. There's 1,000 of you. Why you? And it could be the difference between, sharing your background, sharing the story about, why you feel that, helping someone find their dream home is a journey that you want to be part of it and taking pride in that. And I'm a homeowner myself. And I remember when we bought our first place, it took us 2 years because there was no inventory in San Diego, and we weren't cash buyers by any means. We barely came up with the 20%, and it was just, I remember when it came down to let's say buying a home. The homeowners wanted to interview the ones that they were buying, right? They wanted to know who's going to buy it. Like, it was like we had to write letters and include photos and all this other stuff. And I mean, I'm kind of twisting it now from the owner's perspective, but then how do you, like, as someone that is showcasing a home or helping your buyer, how can you prepare them? How can you, there's a lot of different things, and going back to the scripting, taking it back to that should be all part of your script, because see yourself as a tour guide. A tour guide knows where they're going. They know the beginning, they know the end, but they have points that they're going to go so that you can see the whole city and the whole gamut or whatever, wherever you're going. But at the end, there's a structure there. So I believe in structure. I teach having structure. Structure gives you freedom. I used to be before a little bit scared about having scripts, Judy, because I felt like, no, I perform better when I'm winging it. No. You perform and you'll cap out, girl. Like, if you want to go to the highest level, you have to be a pro. And being a pro is understanding what markers am I going to hit every single time so that I'm delivering consistent service, having consistent sales. So scripts, to me, can be very well done, but can also have a very negative feeling and taste if they're done very wrong. I remember once I lasted two weeks in a telemarketing company, and I was just like, this is all wrong. It didn't feel right to me. It never felt authentic. And I just felt like I was running against the clock, and I was just like, I'm done with this. Like, I need money, but I'm going to figure something out. Like, this is not for me.
Yeah. And so that's the thing with me, like scripts, they can be helpful, but you got to make them your own, because I might say one sentence and you might say it and, like, I don't feel it. So that's where I want these ladies to understand that I think we're on the same page, where scripts are good. You definitely have to know where you're going, but you need to make it your own.
Yes. I always tell my students and clients, I'm going to say things in a way that makes sense to me. Take what you're learning and make it your own. Infuse your own personality. Talk in your script the way you would talk normally to people, so that it feels like it's coming out of your mouth and it's coming from you, but you're following a structure so that you're able to highlight the product or in this case, the way that you showcase a space, a home that makes sense to them. Why you are showing them that, why you're bringing them here. Well, because you shared with me that having a huge yard and having, being close up to like trees and being away from neighbors, whatever, you know what I mean? But you're paying attention, you're active listening to them, and you should have all that be part of your scripting, especially if you've never done this before. If you're new, or maybe if you were seasoned and you're looking to make sure that you are staying, sharpening your tools, I think it's worthwhile having something that is guiding you. It's moving you forward. It's allowing you to make sure that you're not forgetting anything that's going to help you seal the deal at the end with your prospects.
Right. Oh, I love that. Okay, very good. Okay, so that was limiting belief number 1.
Yes, which is asking for money. And remember, asking for money can be showed as, I don't want to ask for the sale. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of receiving. It's important that you think about, what's my relationship with receiving? What's my relationship with money? And just as a GPS would ask your current position to move you to where you want to go, you want to assess where you are without judging yourself so that you can take the steps to move away from that.
Gotcha. Excellent. Love it. Okay. What's limiting belief number 2? Let's see if I have that one. I do have number 1 a little bit. I'm working on it.
So this one, I think personally, I even say this when I talk about this limiting belief, I feel like it's not talked about enough in sales, because we have this either bro culture or bro mentality that, well, you just have to be confident, and it's self-worth. Self-worth. And how do you, the way that nobody walks around thinking like, oh, I have no self-worth. Nobody says that, okay? But when you start asking questions around, how do you see yourself? How do you view yourself? How much do you value your work? Are you presenting or showcasing homes that you think and know you can sell, but you're really shortchanging yourself because you would really want to go for the premium offer, for the premium, territory, the premium, what do you say that?
Like a premium home or like a luxury market.
Premium, the premium market, you really want to get there, but you just feel like you just don't have what it takes. And I think in every moment in every woman's life, we have some sort of iteration of self-doubt. And if you're trying to up level, you really have to take inventory. Why am I feeling this way? Do I spend the majority of my days talking myself out of opportunities? You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not getting enough clients. You're not, all these kind of like things that maybe cross our minds, but are you fast to redirect? As opposed to, you are pretty enough. You're beautiful. You are smart. People will love you. People want to buy from you because you care, because you show them things that they want to see, because you're very knowledgeable and you take your time. Like, it's a very different dialogue. So which one are you subscribing? And what's going to happen is you have to, I recommend taking a note, or like taking out like a notebook and write how many times you have negative self-chatter versus positive self-chatter.
Yes.
You wake up in the morning and you say, do you put on your fight song and say, and give yourself this like pat on the back, and we're going to go out there and we're going to serve and together like a team, right? Or are you always feeling like, look good, you're not dressed best, and you're always kind of being critical of yourself. And when you do that, you're just judging, and that starts creating this negative energy around you, this shameful energy, this energy of not of just not being enough. And
I'm sorry, and I was gonna say I hear this a lot, where the ladies tell me when we go deep, that's what they say. Well, maybe that's why I'm not selling more. That's why I can't find clients, because I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too, not pretty enough, not, whatever enough. And so your best advice to tackle that is really just to tell yourself the truth, because that's a lie, to tell yourself like a new story. Is that the best way?
First and foremost, we have to control our state of mind. Because if you can control your emotions, you control your inner game, then the results happen as the outer game. You really have to take inventory of, first and foremost, how are you talking to yourself? How do you view yourself? How are you being so hypercritical that you are taking yourself out of the game? You know, I'm going to make a quick stat here. Men typically will go into a position, a job or something, if they're 60% sure they can do it. Not 100, 60. Women, the way that we've been socialized is to be caregivers, to be, you know, the good student, the good daughter, the good wife. We will do it only and if we believe in our mind that we are 100% able to do it. And guess what? Your mind, if you don't allow yourself to figure it out and you're always trying to be perfect, you're missing so much opportunity, and you're giving opportunity away to the people that are like, well, I think I'm 60% or 70. I'm just going to jump. I happened to adapt that mentality way early on because I had no choice, literally. And now it's a habit. I don't have to know all the answers. I just have to be enough knowledgeable to know that I will figure it out. And in that moment, if I don't know, I will get myself surrounded by people that know 100% and learn from them. And I think that it's not about being cocky or about, you know, being like overly confident. It's having the trust within yourself that you have what it takes, or you will acquire the knowledge, the expertise, whatever it is that you need in order to make whatever you want happen. So I think that it's very important to, you know, you may feel a little bit of self-doubt because maybe you've never done this before, you've never sold something like that before. But if it's been done, you can do it. Hands down.
Love it.
If you believe that, if you see the end of the movie and you're like, that is the feeling and that is the result, then you have to align your actions to get you there. And having this pity party over here ain't gonna happen. So let's get rid of this and be gentle with ourselves and say, like, you know what? I'm gonna adopt this new way of doing things because this other one, we already know the result. We already know. We don't want more of this. We want something different. So it's gonna require us to think differently about ourselves. Maybe have this hyper or this, like, I don't know, like super power, or like some people, what they do is they have who they are, and then they have the, like, you know, the superpower version of themselves. That's what moves them forward.
That's so good. That's so good. And so what do you think about, and we'll get off to the next one, but you know, I hear it a lot, fake it till you make it. So I don't know, I don't really like that because it doesn't feel authentic, but there is this, and you've just described it, it's almost like you're giving yourself a pep talk. Maybe that's the best way to think of it. How do you address that?
So, okay. So any single time that I laugh at myself right now because it's like, I know the feelings. I do it enough to know the feelings already when I feel like I am in over my head. But I know that so for instance, if I want to get different kinds of clients, I personally have to get on stage and speak. Do I want to get on stages and speak? Hell no. I don't want to do that. But my mind knows that in order to get to the other level, I need to do that.
Yep.
So once I consciously know, I don't take myself off the hook. You're doing it, Julia, because you desire deep down to be at a different level. And what's it going to require is for you to do that. So if you, for instance, are wanting to, you know, hit a different goal, and it's going to require you to have, you know, more open houses, to go to more networking events, to go to just kind of double or triple your activity. That's why it's so important to be viscerally, emotionally connected to your purpose. Because in the moment that you feel, I don't really want to do this, well, you don't have a choice because you committed to something. And when you're committed to something, it ain't about, I want to do it or not. You're going to do it. And I think it requires a level of discipline within yourself that you're going to give yourself the best life that you can, because that's what you deserve.
I love it.
So you have to have that self-love and that self-care in order to do that.
That is so good, Julia. Wow. Before you get on to the third point, what was my next question? What do you think about, gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Go ahead. We'll skip to your third, skip to your third limiting belief, and it'll come back to me.
Okay. Okay. So the third limiting belief, again, it's not groundbreaking. I'm not like, opening the doors to like, I don't know, an oracle here or something. It's really basic stuff, but it really brings you down if you don't keep these things in check. And the other one is having a scarcity mindset. I want you to think about scarcity mindset shows up in different outfits, right? The scarcity can be in money, of course, in clients, in love. There's no love, there's no men out there, if you're a single lady. Or, in relationships in general, friendships, and just you have this kind of recurring theme that, either money or the desires that you want are fleeting resources. So they're never here to stay. You always have to be like, oh my God, I have everything I want. When is the other shoe going to drop? It's almost like you're calling in all these disruptions, right? As opposed to feeling full that everything that you have at this moment is exactly what you need to attain your bigger vision. So scarcity, if you think about, have I ever made a judgment on someone, judging them for their own purchasing power? I'm not even going to introduce them this other, plot of land or this other property because they're not going to even afford it anyway. Why go through the trouble when in reality, you don't even know? You're judging it because you're wanting to avoid the pain of, here, I got another person that couldn't buy, as opposed to, calling in and really knowing that you're doing all the actionable items, right? To make sure that you're attracting the right kind of client. Because what I'm not saying here, just to be perfectly clear, is telling you just talk, prosperity and it's going to come. No, I think that you have to have actions behind what you want. Always. Positioning yourself as an expert. Are you attending the events necessary to get the right contacts? Are you doing all the activity that you need to do, your marketing and everything, so that you're attracting the right clients versus just waiting for them to fall in your lap? That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
So I think that a lot of times we are emotionally bankrupt, and we are thinking about how the way that we see life is the way that everybody is. And when we stop feeling that or feeling like victim to a situation, we empower ourselves to look at things differently. But the first thing is we've got to get out of that mental state, because that mental state is not going to produce any positivity, any uplifting. You're not in an empowered state.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just spoke to someone this morning.
Yeah.
And I know that she's not alone on this point, which is she's been doing great, but lately, right, the last 3-6 months, the market's taken a different turn in her market. And so she's not doing as well. Okay. Now, tie that with the hubby who's saying, honey, I love you, but I love you, but maybe it's time for you to move on to do something else. Meanwhile, she wants to go all in, but she kind of feels like she can't because her husband says, no more spending on marketing, no more, doing these things. So, but we know, as you said, hard work and activity is what's required to make it, going all in. So what might be some advice you have for someone in that situation?
So the reality is we cannot ignore that we have bills and that we have to put, we have to buy food. I mean, going back to basics, right? So we have to understand, and this is not a conversation around business, but it's a conversation around clarity. And it's a conversation around what is most important right now. I mean, bottom line, is it spending more here, or is it making sure you have money? I mean, I would even go as far, I was in finance for a very long time. So I have a very, very tight relationship, I would say, with money, where I feel like before I can take care of anybody else, I have to be taken care of. I have to have money in the bank. I have to have money in order for me not to feel that I'm like desperate mode, because I know what that is. Like, I just have to tap into it and I remember. So I think it's important not to put ourselves in precarious situations where we have no money in our savings, no money like in our businesses, in our business savings, where, each month we don't know how it's going to go. I mean, this could be, people can say, no, I'm against that, but maybe you need to get a job, with a brokerage house or with a mortgage in between, so that you're continuing to be able to bring in some money for your home. That doesn't fall apart, because I'm assuming that's very important, right? And then also your business is very important too. So how do you pump money into that while things are stabilizing? I mean, I think that one of the things I'm very clear around is my life plan. And in my life plan, my family is first before anything else. Now, this is my personal one. This is not but my business is very close second. But when I have to make a decision, which one is going to jeopardize? Now, can I make an alternate decision where it's a win-win? Does it require me maybe if you don't take a physical job where you're in an office, you can do something online? You have to do something. The thing is, we cannot just wait. That's my mentality. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've always had several different sources of income. Even when I was selling knives, I would go around my neighborhood and I would ask everybody if I could get rid of all of their junk. And then at 3 and 4 in the morning, I would wake up and I would go sell it at the swap meet so that I would have money. Mm-hmm. And I, in that kind of hustle mentality, allows me to not be 100% on zero, because that's a very scary place to be. And then, in relationships, without getting too off a tangent, your relationship with your spouse is very important. So I've been a person that likes to operate on my own. But when I got married, I've been married for 7 years, happily married. But there has to be this, there's two people in that relationship. And my decisions, good or bad, affect another human being. And I have to own that. So there's a bigger conversation right now happening, with this. But I don't like the feeling of not having, kind of going really, really low in the money part, because then my ability to do things also get limited. Another thing must be, maybe this is forcing you to be a little bit more creative with your marketing. Maybe you do a little bit more guerrilla marketing. Maybe hire some interns. Maybe, get creative, get scrappy with what you want to do.
I love that. Yes.
And that is one of the things that, after I worked in my first self job, I don't remember never having money again. I didn't have a lot of money, but I always had money, because I knew how to take things and sell them or do something to create money.
There you go. I love that. Oh my gosh, so much. The scrappy mentality, to me, it's almost like, how bad do you want it? Mm-hmm. Like, if you really want to thrive in your real estate business, what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sit those open houses on not just Sunday, but also Saturday? And more than that, I love how you're all about structure. Mm-hmm. Because I think too many agents are waking up and saying, what am I going to do today? They don't really have a plan. Not the actionable steps that you said, not the specifics. And one of the things that just popped into my mind was follow-up. I believe, from working with ladies every day in real estate, I really believe that they have this pot of gold in their database. And they're many times afraid to reach out whether it be by email, text, Facebook, whatever, they're afraid because even reaching out and saying hi, they feel is pushy. So help us with that.
What I would say, this with love, get over yourself. Because people, this is not about you. This is about serving. I'll tell you right now, and I have no negative energy around it. My closing ratio is pretty high on the follow-up. I position myself as best I can so that at the beginning, I'm bringing people in that are highly motivated, pre-qualified, pre-motivated, and predisposed to buy, right? That's how you want to position yourself.
Yes.
But if it's not like that, then I know that there's a money-making strategy in the follow-up. The follow-up is about you're not going to be a pest. You're not going to be, a stalker. You're not going to be viewed as, God, this person, can you get a hint or something? If it's done tastefully and spread out in a way that makes sense, people, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. This is important to me. I had totally forgotten about it, because the fact is, you on the list of priorities, you're not number 1 or 2 or 5. So you have to get over yourself in that regard. And when people say no, it may not necessarily be no forever. Maybe no right now. Maybe, they're getting, like, for instance, when I bought my first place, we looked for 2 years, and then my husband, back then was my fiance, he popped the question, and then I said, I can't do both. We either get married or we buy a place. So we had to pause, and the person that was helping us was like, hey, I get it. Like, do your thing. I'm going to continue to have a little folder that I'm going to send you places in case you want to pop, then you have some time, whatever. And that was perfect. But there are legitimate reasons why somebody maybe says, in this moment, something fell through, the loan, whatever, and it's not the right time. But you have to have a nurturing campaign where if they think about buying a place or their in-laws or their friends, you're the first person they think about. Because you've been there, you're top of mind, you're continuing to create that relationship. With people ask me, like, Julia, what business are you in? And I always say this, I'm in the relationship business. Because relationships to me, I'm not transactional. I'm not in it. I don't even care to make a quick transaction with you. I want a relationship that's going to be fruitful, that's going to be, that it's a different approach. And maybe it's a little bit of a longer game, if you will, but it's solid. And that's what's important. You have
so
people recommending you, their kids, and then their kids, grandkids, and you're part of their inner circle of trust, right? So it's important, if you're whatever age you are, right? I used to keep, by the way, a notebook, which I don't have in front of me right now, because I moved a little bit ago here, where it showed me, I think it was either 30 or 40 women who started businesses after 50. The oldest one, I think it was like Lois Hay, the author. What's her name? Lois Hay. I think she started it in her 60s or 70s, something like that. Because I needed to fortify myself that it's not too late. So you need to figure out, what is my Achilles heel? What is the thing that makes you really maybe insecure, maybe uncomfortable, and how can you shift that around? So I said, okay, people that have started businesses, after 40 or after 50, and I saw a slew of them. I was like, wow. Here's another one for you. I love this one. When I feel that I've made a presentation nobody's bought, because things happen like that, right? Especially when you're in a new market. I always go back to the stats. Peloton, the bike now, that right now you see it on all the new commercials and stuff. The guy that founded Peloton made 200 presentations and got kicked out of multiple boardrooms before anybody believed in him. That is just one single example. 200 no's. You're crazy. You're out of your mind. Nothing's going to stick. Nothing. You have to be able to believe enough in yourself, because when things, boil down, when it boils down to it, you can't depend on somebody else's opinion. You have to believe in your own opinion. And I have to have sometimes those stats readily available for me so that I feel like, okay, I'm barely in like 20th. I still have like 190 to go or 180 to go. So it's like you have to keep yourself in the fight versus taking yourself out. And it's all that mental strength, that mental calluses, that mental endurance. If you don't have mental endurance, I'm sorry, but you're going to run into a lot of problems.
I love that. Oh my God. See, and what we're talking about is almost all of it is mental. So your idea of mental endurance and the long game, the fact that, we can look to our left or right and see somebody that's killing it, and we don't realize they're working it. That's why they're doing the activity. They're doing the stuff that probably they themselves don't even want to do, but they know got to do it in order to make the money they want to make. I do want to ask you about selling style. Yes. I saw that on your website, and it seemed to me that it suggested there are different selling styles, right? Is that?
Mm-hmm. So what I mean, I guess, by that is you have to identify who you are. How do you like to approach people? How do you like to, what feels organic, natural, innate to you? And then take pieces. Like, I've had so many different mentors in sales, some from afar, some personal, and every single one of them is different. But I get the best of certain people based on what they're good at. And then you kind of hodgepodge all of this information together, and then you create what feels your own. So the art of feminine selling was born because nobody wanted to talk about sales. It felt very masculine. And I was like, well, I'm feminine, I'm really feminine. And I want people to know that when I'm teaching, when I'm talking about sales, there's going to be vulnerability, which is strength. There's going to be empathy so that you understand and can empathize with somebody, what they want and what they desire and the pain that they're going through and struggles. I said, and how do I make this? So that's my style. But I'm one of the most competitive people I know. So don't be fooled, right? So it's like, it's not about just like, my style. I think it's very like, I want to always make people feel that whoever you are, whatever you feel is right, we can work with that. We just need structure. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to feel like I have to morph into a mini Julia or something like that. And also, I think it's so important, like every month, I'm reading a book on sales. Every month. Some months are different stuff. I read like about 4 to 5 books a month on different topics. But I always make sure to be reading a book that is going to either amplify my knowledge, reiterate what I already know, make me look at things a little bit differently. I would like to suggest a book right now, actually, for the audience. And this is a book. I actually have it here. I just finished it last night. It's called Heart and Self from Sherry Levitine. And I love it. It's called it says the 10 universal truths about that every salesperson should know. And she goes so in depth in everything that you want to know tactical wise and everything you would want to know emotion wise.
Oh, I love it. I've got to get that.
she's been training people all over the world. This is one of the people that I most admire, right? And but you need to continue to never feel like you're too big or you've arrived or anything like that. Like, always be a student of learning. And I think that learning more and understanding your craft, practicing, brings out that confidence in you because you have this familiarity that your brain, when you've never done something, is trying to keep you safe, right? And it's like, abort, this is, there's no lions chasing us, right? So we are a million time mind wants to act as if. So when you do, in psychology, they have this term called the competent confidence loop. The more you do something, the more competent you become at it, and the more confident you become at it. So therefore, you create familiarity around it. So anytime I'm like creating, coming in and teaching a small company, building, let's say, a playbook, a sales playbook, I am a practitioner. So I am going to sell with them, right? And I already know that my first probably 20 calls, I'm going to suck. Very publicly, because everybody's watching me. But I already know that. I just know that I just need to get to my first 50, to my 100, and then I'm rolling. And you have to be aware of that and not just do it.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I know I say I love it 1,000 times, but here's what I really appreciate. And I don't know where this came from. Even just this week, I said a couple of times, someone could be smarter than me and someone could be more experienced, but nobody's going to outwork me. And so it kind of, I think some of the gurus out there are giving so many like the wrong impression. They're making it seem like, work with me and I'll help you build a business to multi-six figures in 3 months' time, working 3 days a week, 3 hours a day or something. And it's just like, you cannot build a business, any business, any industry like that. I mean, it kind of pisses me off how they're saying that. And then when the ladies that I'm working with are like, why is this so hard? Why is this not happening for me? And I'm like, you just begun.
Yeah, yes, I actually think that they're ludicrous to think that, by the way, because you're stepping into something that you may have never done in your life. And they may have experience, they may have been doing this for 10 or 20 years. So for them, it's just like boom, boom, boom. And who knows what your learning curve is? Who knows what, you need to learn marketing, you need to learn sales, you need to learn business structure. There's so many different things. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I think that you need to approach it also. You don't want to be like losing money left and right. And at the beginning, what you don't know can be very massively costly mistakes.
Yes.
And I agree. I did a couple of my own little investigating around, like detective work, because it was too good to be true. Even for someone that, I am the kind of person that I would be the first in the office and the last to leave. And it was on purpose. I want you to know that, like, for instance, I never finished college. I was too busy working, helping my family and stuff like that. And I always had that chip on my shoulder. Oh my God, I don't have a college degree. Oh my God, everybody has an MBA around me. And I always felt, I wasn't smart. But I thought to myself, I'm going to work twice as hard as you are. I would go home and read for 2 hours, to make sure that I would know the material. I was obsessed with making sure that my ability outperform anything around me. And I think that it was that really, really scrappy, that just gritty way of thinking. And that really separated me. Nobody ever asked, did you go to college or whatever? I mean, they did at the beginning, but it was never a question because my work ethic was just, crazy. Some people called me crazy many, many, many times. I'm used to that. But I got the job done and things worked out. And the more you start trusting in your abilities, the more confident you are. But taking it back, I guess, to what you were saying, I think that, having a business in 90 days, maybe 1 in 1,000 or 100,000. I mean, that is not the norm. That is just not the norm. So yeah, I mean, I went out and I remember doing like a little experiment where I said, I will sell for you for 90 days. Let's see what, like, I wanted them to lift the veil of their business because it was just too good to be true. And guess what I found? A disaster.
Yeah. So, wow. So that's so good. I mean, here, we're giving you the truth, ladies.
Yeah.
Business building it's not for the faint of heart.
No.
You got to be all in. You got to be all in. And I don't know if I shared this with you before, Julia, but this past April, my twin sister Jan and I hosted an event for real estate women. It was called She's Unstoppable Live. And our keynote speaker was Dottie Herman, and she's the CEO of Douglas Elliman. And we asked her kind of how she began. And she's scrappy too. And she said, well, how did I begin? I had this vision. I had this vision that I wanted to own real estate from Manhattan to, Long Island. I wanted to own that. Nobody else did that. And I just kept this vision in front of me, and everything I did, I didn't know everything. She said, she was very honest. I didn't know anything. And I just kept having this vision in front of me. So ladies, if you really want this, you got to be all in. You got to just do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. And I love your idea, Julia, of reading. I need to get back into the reading, because that is key. Feeding your mind with knowledge and giving you that confidence. So that's super. Thank you for that. But you put together a PDF, and our hour, I can't believe, is pretty much over. But tell us about that awesome, resource that you're going to make available.
Yeah, so this PDF is really like basically the 3 mental blocks that we shared, the asking for money, self-worth, and the scarcity. I actually have it detailed in a PDF, what that is, what you can do, and how to reframe your mind in order to make simple steps, on a daily basis that can really shift your mind. This is discipline. This is about, not just, when you want to, let's say, lose weight, for example, you don't just go to the gym once and expect results. I mean, you really have to put in the work, and this is shifting your mind. I went to one time to a psychologist really quickly, and I had a very, very, very traumatic childhood when I was very young. And there was emotional abuse, there was physical abuse, there was sexual abuse. And I had a mind so messed up. And I was obsessed with controlling my mind so that it didn't control me. What your mind does when you're trying to either form a new habit or shift a reaction, think about you, like if you do something like you, I don't know, like it's cold outside, so you immediately want to put on a sweater. But you're training to work in the cold, let's just say, right? And what you're going to do is, instead of seeing the cold and putting on a sweater, you're going to be like, okay, it's cold. It's another opportunity to train. But in order for your mind to go there, you have to be very aware that it's trying to put on the sweater. So now you're trying to redirect it. No, this is actually good because we're going to train. Oh, and you have to do that over and over and over so that when it sees cold, it immediately thinks opportunity. But it has to be, so for how it relates to you, for instance, if you're thinking, oh my God, there's an opportunity for a sale, and well, here's an opportunity to serve, here's an opportunity to make money to put money in the fund for your college tuition. This is an opportunity for you to show yourself how amazing you are. You have to view things like that as an opportunity versus something that is taking from you, something that is negative. You have to find a positive way of looking at it so that your mind makes a positive association when it presents itself. So I show you how to do that in the PDF. So if you want it, drop a link, say, I want the PDF, and I'll make it in your inbox.
Yes. So ladies, just to be clear, whether you're watching this live or in the replay, I need you to say, give me the guide, or what shall we call it?
Yeah, give me the overcoming mental block guide.
Yeah, give me the I need to overcome my mental blocks, whatever you're saying. But if you want that, and then Julia's going to deliver it right to your messenger. So we need to know, if you want it, drop it here in the comments, and we'll be looking at that. So Julia, I'm like blown away. I have notes, and you've said so many good things, like the confidence loop, and the mental endurance. I mean, so many wonderful golden nuggets of wisdom. Thank you so much for being here. Any last words of advice?
Yes, I think what I want to say about, I always think of this is like sales is such a learnable skill. There's nothing special about anybody that knows how to sell. The only difference is the time we put into it. So selling is very experiential, and it's like an athlete. You're not going to get the same results if you read books, if you watch videos, versus being on the court and, putting in your reps and really building that muscle up. So if you're not doing that, you're always, mark my words, going to feel like a beginner every single time. So if you want to continue to ascend, you have to continue to build this to make it part of your business, not an add-on. It's part of the process so that you become successful.
Love that. Love that. Ladies, two last things I want to say. Julia Andrews can be found at juliaandrews.com. Okay, so make sure you check out her website. It's beautiful. And the second thing I just wanted to announce, I meant to say this earlier, my Blessed to Thrive 12-week program brings in what I call my Thriver experts, and Julia is our sales go-to. So in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be introducing you in a full blowout marketing, blitz. And Julia is one of those 5 beautiful ladies who's joining me in the Blessed to Thrive 12-week comprehensive entrepreneurial coaching and mentoring program. So I'll tell you more about that. But Julia, thank you so much for being a part of today's live and for all that you do for women in sales. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, great. Ladies, make sure you drop any questions because Julia is in the group. And so I'm sorry that we didn't get to your questions, but if you have them, I'm sure Julia will answer them for you. All right. Well, thanks so much, ladies. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.